It was a dark and stormy night, and the power had just gone out. Sophie and her friends, Emma and Tyler, were huddled together in Sophie's living room, listening to the howling wind outside. Suddenly, they heard a scratching at the door. "What was that?" Emma whispered. "I don't know," Tyler said, his voice trembling. Sophie got up and cautiously made her way to the door. She peeked through the peephole and gasped. "Oh my God, it's a zombie." "A what?" Emma exclaimed. "A zombie, Emma. We have to get out of here," Sophie shouted. The three of them quickly gathered their supplies and headed towards the front door. But as they opened it, they were confronted by a horde of zombies, all hungry for human flesh. "What do we do?" Tyler asked, panicking. "We have to fight our way through," Sophie declared, grabbing a baseball bat. The friends swung their weapons wildly, fighting off the zombies as they made their way towards the safety of Tyler's truck. They managed to get inside and start the engine, but as they pulled away, one of the zombies grabbed onto the bumper. "Drive faster," Emma screamed. Tyler slammed on the gas pedal, and the truck lurched forward. The zombie's grip slipped, and it fell to the ground, disappearing into the darkness. As they drove away, Sophie breathed a sigh of relief. "That was too close," she said. But as they rounded a corner, they saw something that made their blood run cold. In the distance, they could see more zombies, staggering towards them in the pouring rain. "We're not going to make it," Tyler muttered. "Stop the truck," Emma said quietly. "What? Why?" Sophie asked, confused. "We can't outrun them, but maybe we can fight them off," Emma replied, pulling out a knife. The three friends got out of the truck and stood their ground, ready to face the horde of zombies. They fought with all their might, but it was clear that they were outnumbered. As the zombies closed in, Sophie turned to her friends. "I love you guys," she said. And then, with a final scream, the zombies descended upon them. But instead of biting them, the zombies just stood there, staring blankly. "What's going on?" Tyler asked, confused. "They're not attacking us," Emma said, slowly lowering her knife. Sophie cautiously stepped forward, studying the zombies. "It's like they're in some sort of trance," she said. Just then, they heard a low, rumbling growl coming from behind them. They turned around to see a massive, mutated zombie, twice the size of the others, with glowing red eyes. "What the hell is that?" Tyler exclaimed. "That's the one that caused the outbreak," Emma said, her voice shaking. The mutated zombie charged towards them, but before it could attack, it suddenly froze in place, its eyes staring blankly. "What's happening?" Sophie asked. "I don't know," Emma said, looking around in confusion. And then, in the distance, they heard the sound of helicopters approaching. Moments later, a group of soldiers rappelled down from the choppers, armed with high-tech weapons. "Clear the area," one of the soldiers yelled. The friends quickly backed away as the soldiers fired at the zombies, destroying them one by one. As the gunfire died down, the soldiers approached them. "Are you guys okay?" the leader asked. Sophie nodded, still in shock. "What happened?" she asked. The soldier looked grim. "It's a long story. But basically, this was all caused by a bioweapon gone wrong. We've been sent in to contain the outbreak and clean up the mess." "Thank God you guys came," Tyler said, visibly relieved. The soldiers loaded them into the helicopters and flew them to safety, leaving the ruined city behind. As they looked back at the destruction, they knew they would never forget the horror they had witnessed. But they were also grateful to be alive, thanks to the bravery of the soldiers who had saved them. After a long and tense journey, the helicopters finally touched down at a military base on the outskirts of the city. The friends were escorted to a medical tent, where they were given food, water, and blankets. "Is it really over?" Emma asked, looking around at the soldiers and the medical staff. "It's not over, but it's under control," the soldier who had led the mission replied. "We still have a lot of work to do, but we'll get through it." Sophie couldn't shake off the feeling of unease that lingered within her. "What about the mutated zombie?" she asked. "Is it dead?" The soldier hesitated before answering. "It's been contained for now, but we don't know if it's truly dead. We're still trying to figure out what caused it to mutate like that." Tyler shuddered. "I don't even want to think about what would have happened if you guys hadn't come." The friends spent the night at the military base, trying to process everything that had happened. They watched the news updates on TV, which showed images of the city in ruins and the countless people who had been affected by the outbreak. As dawn broke, The friends were called in for a debriefing with the soldiers. "We need your help," the leader said. "We want you to join our team, to help us contain the outbreak and find a cure." Sophie and Emma looked at each other, uncertain. "What about Tyler?" Sophie asked. The soldier turned to Tyler. "You can help too, if you want. We need all the help we can get." Tyler looked around at the soldiers and the medical staff, then back at his friends. "I'm in," he said, nodding. Sophie and Emma followed suit, determined to do whatever it took to help contain the outbreak. As they stepped outside into the daylight, they couldn't help but feel like they had entered a new world, a world filled with danger and uncertainty. But they were also filled with a sense of purpose, knowing that they had a chance to make a difference in a world that had been turned upside down by the horror of the zombie outbreak. Over the next few weeks, the friends worked tirelessly, alongside the soldiers, aiding in the containment efforts and collecting data to find a cure for the zombie virus. It was grueling work, but they were determined to see it through to the end. One day, as they were out on a mission to collect samples from a newly discovered group of zombies, they stumbled upon something unexpected. Among the zombies, they saw a familiar face. "Is that?" Tyler trailed off, shocked. Sophie and Emma followed his gaze and saw what he was seeing. It was their old friend, Dylan, who they thought had died in the early days of the outbreak. "Dylan," Emma yelled, running towards him. But as they got closer, they saw that he was different. His skin was pale and clammy, and his eyes had a vacant, lifeless stare. "Dylan, what happened to you?" Sophie asked, touching his arm. He turned to them slowly, his movements jerky and unnatural. "He's turned," the soldier who was with them said grimly. "We have to put him down." The friends protested, but they knew that the soldier was right. Dylan was beyond saving. As the soldier took aim at Dylan, the zombie suddenly lunged forward, his teeth bared. Sophie screamed and stumbled backwards, but before the zombie could reach her, it was struck by a bullet and fell to the ground. They looked up to see a group of survivors emerging from the nearby buildings, armed with makeshift weapons. "We saw what was happening and came to help," the leader of the group said. Tyler breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank you," he said. "We thought we were done for." The survivors and the soldiers worked together to clear the area of zombies, and the friends were able to collect the necessary samples for their research. As they returned to the military base, they couldn't help but wonder how many more people they knew had been turned into zombies. The thought was a sobering reminder of the horror that had befallen their city. But they also knew that they were making progress, and that their work was essential to finding a cure and putting an end to the zombie outbreak for good. Days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months as the friends continued to work alongside the soldiers and researchers, trying to find a cure for the zombie virus. They saw the city slowly transform from a desolate wasteland into a bustling hub of activity as survivors began to rebuild their lives. One day, as they were analyzing a new set of samples in the lab, they made a breakthrough. "I think I've found it," Sophie exclaimed, staring at the data on her computer screen. Emma rushed over to look. "What is it? What did you find?" Sophie grinned. "A possible cure. It's not perfect, but it could work." Tyler jumped up from his seat. "That's amazing. We need to tell the soldiers and the survivors." The friends rushed out of the lab and headed towards the command center, eager to share their discovery. As they arrived, they found the soldiers and survivors gathered around a large screen, watching a live feed from outside the city walls. The image showed a group of people approaching the gates, some of them clearly injured and in need of medical attention. "We can't just turn them away," one of the soldiers said. "But what if they're infected?" Another soldier replied. "We can't take that risk." Sophie stepped forward, holding up the file containing their cure. "We might have a solution," she said, addressing the group. "We've been working on a cure for the zombie virus, and we think we might have found something that could work." The group looked at her skeptically, but the soldiers were willing to give it a try. "We'll need to run some tests, but if it works, it could change everything," the soldier in charge said. The friends felt a renewed sense of purpose as they began to administer the cure to the infected individuals. It was a slow and delicate process, but they were determined to see it through. Days turned into weeks, and slowly but surely, the city began to heal. People who had been infected with the zombie virus were cured, and survivors started to rebuild their lives. The friends worked tirelessly, helping to distribute the cure and aid in the rebuilding efforts. They knew that they couldn't undo the horror that had befallen their city, but they could make a difference in the lives of those who had survived. As they looked out over the city, now full of life and hope, They knew that they had played a small part in making it possible. It was a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable horror, there was always hope for a brighter tomorrow. As the city continued to recover, the friends received word that their research and cure had gained attention from the scientific community. They were invited to present their findings at a conference in another city, an opportunity that would allow them to share their knowledge and potentially help others affected by the zombie outbreak. Excited and nervous, the friends prepared for their presentation, reviewing their data and practicing their speeches. Finally, the day of the conference arrived. As they stood before the audience of scientists, researchers, and medical professionals, they shared their research and presented their cure. They were met with a mix of skepticism and excitement, but as they showed the results of their successful trials, the audience began to take notice. "I have to say, this is impressive work," one of the scientists said, nodding in approval. "Your cure could be the breakthrough we've been waiting for," another scientist added. The friends felt a sense of pride and accomplishment as they fielded questions from the audience, eager to share their knowledge and help others. After the conference, they received requests for interviews and collaborations from researchers and scientists from all over the world. As they returned home, they were welcomed back as heroes, their efforts to find a cure and help the survivors of the zombie outbreak celebrated and recognized by the community. But despite the recognition and accolades, the friends knew that their work was far from over. They continued to research and refine their cure, determined to make it even more effective and accessible to all those who needed it. As they looked out over the city they had helped to rebuild, they knew that they had played a small part in changing the world. And in a time of darkness and fear, they had found hope and light in their determination to make a difference. Months turned into years, and the friends continued to work tirelessly on their research, determined to make their cure available to as many people as possible. They collaborated with scientists and researchers from around the world, sharing their knowledge and expertise in the fight against the zombie virus. As the years passed, the number of zombie outbreaks decreased, and the world slowly began to heal. The friends watched with pride as their cure became widely available, helping to prevent future outbreaks and saving countless lives. One day, as they were reviewing the latest data on the zombie virus, they received a message from an unexpected source. "Hello, friends," the message read. "I hope this message finds you well. It's been a long time since we last spoke, but I wanted to thank you for everything you did to help us during the zombie outbreak. I was one of the survivors you saved with your cure, and I wanted you to know how grateful I am for everything you did. Without you, I might not be here today." The friends looked at each other, tears in their eyes. They had saved countless lives during the zombie outbreak, but to receive a message of gratitude from one of the survivors was something truly special. As they read the message again, they felt a renewed sense of purpose. They knew that even though the zombie outbreak was over, their work was not done. They would continue to research and develop new cures, to help prevent future outbreaks and save more lives. And as they looked out over the world they had helped to heal, they knew that they had made a difference. They had faced the horror of the zombie outbreak head-on, and in doing so, they had changed the world for the better. The friends gathered together, their hands clasped tightly as they looked out over the city they had saved. They knew that they had come a long way since the days of the zombie outbreak, and they were proud of everything they had accomplished. "I can't believe how far we've come," one of the friends said, shaking their head in disbelief. "It's been a long and difficult journey, but we made it through," another friend replied, their eyes shining with pride. They stood in silence for a moment, taking in the beauty of the world around them. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the city, and for the first time in a long time, they felt hopeful about the future. "I think we should toast to our success," the third friend said, holding up a bottle of champagne. The friends raised their glasses, clinking them together in celebration. They drank deeply, the bubbles tickling their throats as they savored the taste. "To us," the first friend said, grinning from ear to ear. "To the survivors," the second friend added, their voice thick with emotion. "And to the future," the third friend said, raising their glass once again. As they looked out over the city, the friends knew that there would be more challenges ahead. But with each other by their side, and with their determination to make the world a better place, they knew that they could face anything. And so they stood, together, ready to take on whatever the future might bring, and to continue making a difference in the world they had saved.